Hello everybody, welcome back to the workshop. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make a pocket weld. Now, a pocket weld is a little bit different than a cleft weld or a bird's mouth weld that people know, where it's on the end of a bar. This is going to be on a side of a bar, and we are going to take and insert the material. Now, you could still call that a bird's mouth weld, but it's like opening up a pocket. So again, a historical piece, it's considered a pocket weld. We're going to be making the pocket in this welded joint with an H13 slitter that we have made a video on this. I'll try to link that up in the description. I don't know which video will come out first. Most likely this slitter video will come out first before this video, so it should be linked up in the description. And if it has come out already, it will be right up here in a card for you. So go check out that video if you want to see how I made this little H13 slitter. It's a high carbon, it's a high alloy steel that is really resistant to heat. So it's a great little tool to have in the arsenal. Been needing to make one of these for a really long time. So we've got a piece of 1/2 inch by 1 inch material in the fire pot here. We're going to bring that out. It's just a simple piece of 1/2 inch by 1 inch material. This we're going to take and go ahead and use our slitter for and really drive it down in there. We want to create a nice deep pocket, if we can, for our material to go down into. So take your time with this and make sure it gets driven home to center. So I've already pre-started some of this. We don't have to cool this at all because it's H13. But you guys can see that the result there. We're just driving a pocket. So you can go right up on the edge of something and you can drive this down. If you need the pocket to be a little wider, which it looks like it could use to be just a fuzz wider, you can come back and cut on it and cut down the area that you need. You want it to be about the same width, if you can, of the parent bar, the material that you're going to be joining, or just a little wider if you can. So we're going to keep that cutting right down through there. Again, H13 is a beautiful material to work with for operations like this. So there we go. We've got our pocket created. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to straighten this out first a little bit. Straighten that piece out. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take and forge and dress down our 1/4 by 1 flat stock, or 25 mil by 6 mil flat stock. We're going to draw a taper down on this, and we're going to do it basically a symmetrical taper. We're going to do it on all 4 sides. So we want the inside of it to meet where our slitter was. You want this to be fairly narrow and thin. So I'm going to forge this really nice and thin. And we're going to do something to it just before we put it in the pocket and heat the whole piece back up. So that just about fits, and it does, right down and in there. So we do need to take and upset the material ever so slightly behind the joint that's going to be welded. So we'll go ahead and do that now. Get this piece nice and hot. And if you have any questions on this process, feel free to drop them down in the comment section down below. If I get enough of the same question that people are wondering, I will answer it via video response at some point, or I will get down there in the comment section and get back to you. It might take me some time, but I will get your question answered. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications. That way you know when I've posted a new video, because most likely it might be around those questions that you have around forge welding. So again, I'm heating this piece up. I'm going to cool off the tip of the material ever so slightly, and then I'm going to upset the material behind it. So again, we need to take and cool off our thin edge of material, the taper portion, cool it off up into that area, and then we need to upset that mass right behind it, because that's going to be the area that's going to want to thin out on you. When I'm hammering it back in this direction, this is just me correcting its thickness, correcting its bending. It's going to want to bend on you, and we're just trying to get a little extra thickness into that piece. I'm going to heat it up one more time. We'll take that heat one more time. Again, I'll cool off the taper and drive the material back up into that area that's going to have a tendency to thin out on us. So most of the prep work in doing a weld like this is making sure that your cut is centered like it's supposed to be. On this piece here, you want to make sure that your cut is centered. As you can see, I get a little off to one side, or that side bulged out more than this, but it was mostly in the center. You want to make sure that that piece is nice and prepped first, and most of the work is going to actually be in prepping your other piece that goes in here and getting this set up. Once it's set up, it'll be locked in, and it'll be nice and easy to forge weld then. We're going to set this piece back on the fire just so this way it can stay warm while we finish up setting this piece like we're supposed to. We'll cool off the tapered area again. And you just want to take and upset the material. I'm bending it back a little bit. There we go. We're getting plenty of thickness there. It's maybe 12%, 10 to 15% thicker. That's okay. That's what we want. And I'm dressing that out. Now what we need to do is we need to take and cut barbs along this edge, so this way it will hold itself in the pocket itself. And the way that we're going to do that is usually a great way of doing this is locking it up at the vise. We're not going to do the vise today. I'm going to show you an alternate method. We are going to take and use the hot cut hardy in the anvil to take and go ahead and do this portion of the butchering process. I might turn it that way. I guess that doesn't really show it any better than this way. That shows it pretty good there. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to pull this out, and I'm going to cut my barbs or my little teeth into it on the hot cut hardy here. The way we do that is by standing our piece straight up directly, and you just cut straight down. That's going to create these little hooks, little barbs type area. Be careful when you're straightening this out because you want to keep those barbs and those little hook areas there. You can see how it kind of ruffles the edge a bit. That's what we're wanting. So that'll get that to fit in that pocket just fine. Now, because of the differences in thickness of materials, like I said, the one is 1 inch wide by 1/2 inch thick, or 25 mil wide by 12.5 mil thick, and this is only 25 mil wide by 6 mil thick, or 1 inch by 1/4 inch thick. We need to take and let this cool down some, because we need the other piece to come up to a high heat in order to take and drop it down over this piece and to fit this pocket weld very correctly. Reason for this being is that thicker piece needs to come up to a welding heat. Once that piece is up to the welding heat like it's supposed to be, then we can take and drive the cooler material into the piece. Actually, we won't do the welding heat. We'll bring it up to a pretty high heat, almost a welding heat. We'll drive the cooler piece down into it. Again, this is still probably 1,000 degrees. We're going to drive that down into it and then close up that pocket on it so it holds it. Since that bigger piece is hotter, it will get to welding heat first, and then that will soak up and absorb into the smaller piece. If you keep your smaller piece too hot and then you come out with your welding heat, or you try to bring your big piece up to welding heat, what will happen is the little piece will burn away before the thick bar will. This is a very useful weld whenever you need something to come right in. A T-weld isn't as handy because it's less structurally strong, and you need this to have some structural capability. A pocket weld is a perfect thing for structural capability. As where when we did the example of the T-weld, which I'll link in the description down below, that T-weld that we did, that layering over, it's only on one welding plane. This pocket weld, you have two. It's like a taco. You're getting one welding plane here, you've got a welding plane here, and then you've got a welding plane here. So all those are in welding planes, and so you get three different joints basically that are being created, which is a great thing for structural capabilities, as it were. Oh, all right, so this piece is good and hot. We're gonna pull it out now. We're good and hot on that. I'm gonna set that up. I'm gonna put this piece in there. I'm gonna drive it down into the pocket, and then we're gonna close up the pocket over the top. You don't wanna form this, you just wanna close the pocket down to where it'll hold it on. The next thing, since there's a possibility that we will trap scale, almost probability that we'll trap scale down in there, we want to put just the lightest amount of flux on here. You don't need to drown this. This is a very light joint. Now, I have shown time and time again that you do not need flux to weld, but this and the other weld that I just did, which was a cleft weld or a bird's mouth weld, they will trap scale if you don't flux them. The flux will help through capillary action help expel the scale out of the joint. So, all right, I put that piece back in there. We're gonna bring it back up to a welding heat, and then we're gonna weld this down. As you can see, this could get a little tricky if you're doing a really large piece, say something for like a gate or a grill, a window grill. You got this big long contraption, but it would be done with a lot bigger stock, so you'd have more time to work this piece. You know, it does take a higher degree of skill. This definitely is not what you would consider a super basic weld by any standards. It's a good weld to learn though. So now we're going to talk a little bit about our word from our sponsors. Yes, that's right, our sponsors. That's each and every last one of you lovely people that have watched this video to this point. Thank you so much for giving us that watch time, watching our content, enjoying it, sharing it with your friends. That really helps us out here on YouTube to be able to continue to take and get out our content to the world. We really greatly appreciate that, so thank you so much. If people don't watch, YouTube doesn't distribute. If you don't watch videos fully or out to the end, or have at least 50% audience retention, most people don't know this, YouTube kills the video and it doesn't get seen by anybody. So you really do have a great effect on this channel, and we thank you so much for it. Jessica and I do. And so you can drop down in the comment section and say, I sponsored Christ Center Ironworks, if you've made it to this point in the video, and we do thank you for that. If you're new here and you haven't subscribed, you want to do so and share this video with your friends. That does greatly help us out, and we're glad to have you as a newbie of the channel. If you're new here, drop down there and say, I'm a newbie. Hashtag I'm a newbie. We greatly love to connect with you and see how, just say hello. So thank you for being here. All right, so we've got this piece. We're bringing it up. We're getting it really close to a welding heat. As we get closer to a welding heat, I'm going to reduce the amount of oxygen. And when we come out, the first weld I need to do is I need to drive that piece home before I lay it on the flat and I trap the piece. I need to drive the piece down deeper into that pocket, okay? So that's the very first part that you're going to want to do with this first welding heat. You don't have to murder it. You have to give it some good, stiff, smart blows, but that's it. So out we come with it, and then we're going down to the flat, and then back to the flat. And that piece should be pretty much welded at this point, but I'm going to take it in for one more heat after I straighten it just to fuzz. It's kind of got a little ripple here I don't like. I'm going to straighten that out. We're going to take one more welding heat on this and get that welded in. So it looks extremely bright on the camera. The camera is just adjusting it's keeping the ISO way up so you guys can see it, but it's actually not that bright now. It's down to a dull orange. We almost got the thickness dressed out of the piece. So I'm going to heat this up one more time. And now I'm going to just work it on the flats and square everything up, and we should be good to go. So as you can see there, all the prep work, like modern day welding, is in the actual setup of the process. It's not in the weld. The weld happens just in a few seconds. This is a 15-minute video, 15-minute and 30 some odd seconds before I made that weld. So that is where all the work is to take and do this bit. Now, if I wasn't on camera and I wasn't paying attention to you all talking and demonstrating and instructing, this would be something along the realm of about 10 minutes to make a weld like this for me, depending on the complexity. If it was on something big, it might be a lot longer because you have to manage things more. So again, it's not a hard weld to do. It's just something, it's something to practice. It takes longer to prep the weld than it does to make the weld. And that is about 90% of forge welds out there. So most welds you will do in blacksmithing will take longer for you to prep the weld than for you to make the weld. All right, we are almost done. Again, I'd like to thank you for joining me today. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. And also, if you would like to support this channel financially, a great way for you to do that if you're new here, a great way of you doing that is going and checking out our website over at blacksmithpdfs.com. Over there we have all sorts of good resources and information for you to take and help start your blacksmithing business, and things like power hammer plans and tooling plans and all sorts of good stuff like that. So here we go, we're up good and hot again. Address that thickness out of it. I want to get that upright. Okay, got that pretty good. It's working out pretty good. So now I'm going to just straighten this up, just so it doesn't look so gnarly. And now this is a weld. I said in one of my previous welding videos where I was demonstrating that I wouldn't have trusted my life to the weld that I was doing in that video. This is a weld that I'm confident, I am dead confident that you could trust your life to. I'd swing from this from a skyscraper. So, although I don't like skyscrapers, you won't see me swinging from it anytime soon, but I would if I need be. So there we go. There is your pocket weld. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to leave that like, comment down below with any of your questions, and I'll try to answer them as I can. As always, God bless you, and thank you so much for watching.